All right, James Pearse Connelly. Congratulations on your recent Emmy nomination for The Voice. Uh, you've gotten 7 Emmy nominations in total. You've won an Emmy before. It's your fifth straight one for The Voice, fifth straight nomination. So, are you still surprised every time you get nominated, or is it just kind of old hat at this point?
That is a great question. One would kind of like think that. Sorry, my phone. Sometimes I still have the computer set up to like when it
Oh,
rings on the phone, it rings everywhere. So
oh, it's okay. It was barely noticeable.
this is the fifth time. I mean, honest to God, like I know from my experience with the Television Academy and being in this certain industry with production design, this is a pretty prestigious award, not only just from what you know about an Emmy trophy, but in our peer group of production design, it's pretty limited and definitely really exclusive. And so this is there's a certain amount of prestige I am not overlooking. It's incredible. It doesn't feel real every time. It's really special. In fact, now that it's been the fifth time for The Voice, it makes me look back on the years that we've had developing the show, but also developing kind of this genre of television. And it's funny, back then in 2012, we were nominated, but it was for a tremendous amount of hard work. And now I feel like I'm being nominated for an incredible team and for the history that we've given the show and the development we've given to the overall genre of variety series and reality unscripted storytelling.
Mm-hmm. Well, take us back to that when you first got onto The Voice back in 2012. It had already been on for one season. How did you get involved to it, and what did you bring to it?
Awesome. So back then, I know coming out of season one, I knew the showrunner was really struggling with the creative direction of what quote unquote the reality. And reality is such a general term for what I think is unscripted storytelling. To me, behavior is the result of environment plus personality. And so you've got these personalities of the artist journeying through hallways and what is the Voice branded environment to the biggest audition of their lives. And the network and the showrunner were really struggling with a strong direction for that. And it really ultimately needs to be like a style-driven character. And we had known each other for quite some time, and Audrey Morrissey is like a visionary, and she's one of my true heroes. She said, this is season 2 of The Voice. We had a great ratings the first season. We have a great fan base, but this is going to premiere after the Super Bowl. Like, I really need somebody to blow this up. I really need somebody to focus on this and give me the highest end possible. And so, I mean, I remember like the day I went in for I brought in a bunch of drawings I had done and prepped, and they were mid-process through. They were panicked, and I said, well, here's my thoughts. Here's my idea. This is what I think the artist is experiencing. This is what I would do. And walked away, and I was like, oh, I wonder if I'm going to get this. I wonder if this resonated. And the whole day was her calling me, can you make this work? It's 2 weeks away. How are we going to do this? I'll never forget it. And from there on out, it was just nonstop. I worked till like 3 o'clock in the morning every night, getting each finish and each detail absolutely correct. We put down drawings on a table that the carpenters were finishing assembling as they were building walls that we were just starting to talk about were going to be finished and how they were going to be finished. And so it was kind of a miracle. And like I said, the first time we got nominated, it was really like, wow. I mean, that was a lot of fucking work. Like, that was really great. We killed that. And now I look back and I think, that it's been such an incredible journey. And the show's taken on such amazingly different point of views each season with a fresh new look, a fresh new story every season environmentally that, it's cool. I love the show because it keeps me on my toes and they always challenge me to be better. And it's awesome.
Well, what was that Voice brand? What were your ideas for it? I mean, how did you come up with that look for it?
The Voice brand started off being started off in the journey of what The Voice was. The Voice, when it first started off, was a singing competition show, and it had competitors. I mean, there were other shows back then, not just the big one on Fox, Idol, or the Rising Star, or the other one, Duets, and all these different event type competition shows. And The Voice needed to be different than that, and it really needed to focus on my end and storytelling. And I put a lot of effort into those realistic and yet high style environments. The other shows, and not that I look too much towards them, but when I watch TV, I thought, you know, the other shows are taking the capture of backstage, and that's kind of it. But when I watch the show, I want it to be bigger and better than that. And I want it to be like bolder and more exciting, and sort of a wonderland or a high-end place that is unattainable. And so we started that way, and then we've hit this kind of like, now there's no competition really. Now that we're just it, and we're the biggest and the best. And so we have to approach the show and these environments with a sense of humility and relatability and tangible, genuine textures, as opposed to something big and bold and eye-catching and branding. We're in a space now where we're relatable, and I don't really know. I'm sort of describing this for the first time, the evolution, but I'll put it simply. For the first few seasons, I put the Voice logo on everything. And now people know what the show they're watching. Now they know the taste level, and they know my color palette. And so now it's about connecting to the soul of the audience and having them watch it and take them into the show, as opposed to telling them what this is.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned how each season develops, and it's a different, you said, story each season. And I think that's something that people can take for granted a bit with reality TV, unscripted narratives, that there is a story to it in a sense. So talk a bit about what was the story of this season.
That is crazy. I want to make sure that everybody knows that there are real stories, there are real genuine stories in this medium. In fact, this medium needs to be looked at differently. It is beautiful, and there's incredible freedom, not only from what I do environmentally, but for the behavior of the person to act within it. It's like a study of human behavior without any nonsense on top. For just a few moments when they roll camera, nobody's telling anybody how to do anything else. It's just happening raw, real. And that's fascinating. That's really wonderful. And what do they do in these environments, that we set up for them, and how do they act? And I love it. I think that the script is the space. And for me, it's a real way to manipulate or affect change or describe behavior around the subject. It's wonderful. And yes, that's a story. Which way do they go? What do they do when they're standing in front of the door? How do they feel, and how is it making them feel? That's storytelling in its core. And I think that's why The Voice is so successful.
Mm-hmm. Well, take us through like the filming of an episode. I mean, are you ever yourself nervous about somebody getting to the next level or kicked off, or do you have an emotional investment in what's going on there? Or
it's amazing. In early stages of The Voice, they would say too, like the crew would say, this is the first time like these brawny grips who do this every day for a living, they rig stuff every day, they've seen it all, they're magicians, all dressed in black and tats up, glued to the television, like glued, watching the monitor. Are they going to make it? Are they not? And I think everybody feels like that all the time when they're on the show backstage.
Mm-hmm. So you've had quite a bit of experience in designing for reality television. Some of your other credits are Biggest Loser and Top Chef. What got you into designing for that medium?
I didn't really graduate from college thinking I'm going to go design for reality television. Like, that never really happened. But I fell into it just with its popularity in the early 2000s. I graduated college from New Jersey, Rutgers University. I went to an art school. I studied theater set design. The idea was move to New York City, go to Broadway, live in Brooklyn. After 9/11, that things had changed in New York, and so there really was no room for some young kid to come out there and start doing stuff. So I moved unknowingly to LA, really unknowing anything or how this all worked. In fact, television just seems like sort of fantasy. Moved out to Los Angeles and kind of caught that wave of popularity. I mean, back then there were lots of other factors with the writers' strike. You know, Survivor had premiered and it was huge, and and so there was so much opportunity to grow in this frontier of, narrative that nobody had really even explored. And it was exciting. And ultimately, I just kind of did it. And I decorated, I shopped, I drew, and I just hit a bunch of shows. And listen, I mean, my soul always says, stay in this business. I love it. I love designing spaces, and I love this medium, whether it's a hospital room or a police station. I see no difference between that and a giant grand stage, an award ceremony, or a backstage at The Voice, or a holding room, or an interview. It's there's a lot of content right back here behind me that I get to affect, and now I'm in love with this medium. Now I think variety series and variety specials are incredible amounts of freedom, and it excites me every day when I get a phone call.
Right. I should mention that you won your Emmy for the for designing the MTV Music Awards. Forget what year it was, 2008, I want to say?
2008, yep.
Right, okay. I remember. So take us back to that first Emmy win. I mean, what was that like in the room and hearing your name called and the names of everyone who had worked on that?
And for the record, I was an art director in a team of 4. And right. I was studying under 2 production designers, and I was a full-time art director for a guy who I'm still very close with. And so on that production of the VMAs, there were 2 design teams because the show was so huge. We had an inside and an outside team. And I remember being incredibly involved with that project. And so winning that award felt really rewarding and special. However, completely unexpected. In fact, I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure I've heard this rumor a few times that it may have been the first MTV Emmy ever. I don't think that we had ever won before. And so, in fact, we weren't even sitting next to each other, the group of us. Like, I think somebody was back in the bar. Like, I don't even think that we were not even close to being considered, and that we were up against such giants, I remember, like the Oscars. And I brought my mother with me to the ceremony that year. And the Oscars had won like year after year after year. And when they announced our names, I mean, it was like winning The Price is Right, really. I ran down like a freaking lunatic. Like, where is everybody? Where are they? And somebody was from the other side of the audience. It was a special. That was a special moment, completely unexpected.
Mm-hmm. So you touched upon this a little bit earlier, but I wonder if you could talk a bit more about it. What is about this show that I guess makes it such a success? Because you guys are not only a big ratings juggernaut, but you won the Emmy for reality competition shows, so voters like you as well. What do you think it is about this show that helps distinguish it for people and makes it so watchable?
I believe in, I don't know, I don't know, and I don't know for sure. I don't know if anybody really knows, and I think if you ask like geniuses like the producers or NBC like Paul Telegdi, they'll tell you something above and beyond what I'm about to say. I have no idea. But if personally, what I think is, I think the show has a sense of authenticity that people really connect to. And I think that starts with the coaches and their interaction. And, it's real. It's really happening. Those aren't scripted lines. They are really driven by their personalities and their contrast. And it's really funny to watch. And I think that carries over all the way down in other crafts all over the place. But one of the things I want to mention about the show that I not only think it's a success because they capture authenticity, but I know everybody on that project, and nobody on that project came to the production, whether it was season 1 or season 12. And trust me, there are a lot of people that work on that show. Everybody comes with no ego or attitude. Everybody puts a ton of work and heart into that show, and they have since day one. And it's inspiring to be around. And when we first started the show, and it's done wonders for me, and now I've since gone on to Telemundo, and I've done a version of it in China and blah, blah, blah. And I got to tell you, I owe that production quite a bit. However, everybody came to it raw, with such a spirit and energy, and that's there, and that's still there, and it carries through every day, and it makes it special.
Mm-hmm. Well, congratulations on your nomination, and thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thanks so much. Yeah, for sure, Zach. Bye.
Bye. Have a great day.
You too.
Thank you.